What's up, you guys? Welcome to another episode of The Variety Views. I'm your host, The Variety Vendor. And I, guys, I knew it. I knew it from the get-go. As soon as Cody came out with The Rock, and apparently, he gave up his spot for Wrestlemania to The Rock, I knew that wasn't gonna stick. So I was like, this is very interesting. This is a very interesting situation, to go about things rather than do the predictable thing, like I said before in my previous video, of Cody just winning matches and then going into Mania and then, having a title match right away and, doing the predictable route. I really like the Rock monkey wrench that they threw into things. And it made for a very interesting, couple weeks. And going into SmackDown, it is very interesting. It's going to be very interesting to hear from The Rock and Roman Reigns. And like I said, it's the most interested I've been in the Bloodline story since the Sami Zayn stuff early last year. So I was thinking about a couple of things, to make, to talk about in this video. So it was like, you know what? Let's just book WrestleMania 40, and it's something that I have been doing every few months, since last year. Thinking about what the card would be, what they could do, what they would do, and what would be interesting to do. So let's get right into it. WrestleMania 40 in Philly. Let's start with night one. And right off the bat, I would like to propose the idea of, what if the Judgment Day are the hosts of WrestleMania? I think it would be very interesting to go about things. Start off the show with Dominic, because I was thinking about, what would you have Dominic do? Somebody with so much heat, and he kind of cooled off as far as booking goes, but he still gets a reaction. He still gets that unbelievable, heel reaction that WWE wants, and what Dominic is going for. So why not give Judgment Day that spot of being host of WrestleMania? And throughout night one, they would pretty much take over the show, and talking about how the Judgment Day is the most dominant faction and blah blah blah, right? So then we go into the first match, which I think would be very interesting to do, and I think it would solve a few problems that I think WWE has. They have a great tag team roster. In both brands. They have a great tag team roster, and I always wanted them, to have the unified tag titles, float in both brands, because they didn't have a good enough tag team, a tag team division. But now they have a very strong tag team division, so I think it's time to split the tag titles. And a way that I propose is, go back to WrestleMania 2000 with Jericho, Benoit, and Kurt Angle, and use that idea for this. And by that I mean, do a 2 falls, where one fall is, contested for the Raw tag titles, and the second fall would be contested for the SmackDown tag titles. And the way that I would do things is, both brands, they want to go for the tag titles, but there's only one. Judgment Day are talking about how they're exclusive to Raw. So Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis, come into the agreement that, hey, okay, you know what? I think it's time we split the tag titles, and if Judgment Day have their way, then they can hold both tag titles. But we're gonna really stack the deck against them to have the tag titles, represent their brands as best as they can possible, instead of Judgment Day just like, holding the titles hostage. So you would have Miz Truth, Miz and R-Truth, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, who I would have actually, kind of win at Elimination Chamber, but not really. Maybe have like a dusty finish at the end where it looks like that they won, but it turns out like they pinned the illegal opponent, and then like Judgment Day end up winning. And then like you do that thing again with Miz and R-Truth and Judgment Day on Raw. And then finally, it's like, okay, you got a couple of contenders. And also, another team that I would add to the mix is Chad Gable and a partner of his choosing. And the story that I would have go into the show is that Braun Breaker attacks Otis. He attacks Otis, beats up Otis, beats up the Creed brothers, beats them down and beats them down and beats them down. And once he gets to Gable, they have a great match on Raw, which I believe they would have a great match on Raw. Braun Breaker, instead of taking out Gable, he talks to Gable and he lets him go. And then later on in the night, or maybe the following week, he would talk to Gable and be like, look, Gable, I see you as much better than what you think that you are and the way that you're positioned. And I think the way that we can really get you to that next level is if we team up. If we team up and we take down Judgment Day together. Because you and Otis, or the Creed brothers, it's not doing it. You and Tozawa, it's not working. So how about it? How about you and I team up and be the destructive force that the WWE needs, that Raw needs, that we can take those titles and really represent tag team wrestling the way it should be. Because I know that you idolize my father and my uncle, but man, Gable, we have the potential of being even better. So Breaker and Gable team up at WrestleMania, going up against the Judgment Day, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate and Miz and R-Truth for both tag titles on the line, on both falls. Okay, the first fall would be for the SmackDown tag titles, and the second fall would be for the Raw tag titles. So Judgment Day has the opportunity to either, retain one of the belts or both belts. And the way that I would do it, I would have Miz and R-Truth win the tag titles, win the Raw tag titles, and Gable and Breaker can win the SmackDown tag titles, and they can go over to SmackDown. Since I've always have seen SmackDown as being more of a wrestling show, while Raw is more of a storyline, entertainment-driven show. So I think Miz and R-Truth having that moment of becoming Raw Tag Team Champions, it's good. And Gable and Breaker can go on to be a great tag team for SmackDown. And I'm just thinking about like all the teams that they can go up against, whether it's Street Profits or AOP, or Solo Sikoa and Jimmy and Pretty Deadly, and even Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne. I think that they have so much potential going up against all these guys, while Miz and R-Truth can continue being entertaining. The second match that I would have on this show would be Logan Paul and Kevin Owens for the U.S. Championship. Now, I know that a lot of people are, have been saying for months, that more than a few months, maybe even a year, that LA Knight should go for the U.S. Championship. That is not the position that I would put LA Knight in. I think Kevin Owens and Logan Paul have been doing great TV work, and I think them having another match on, they had a great match at the Royal Rumble, and I think that they can have an even better match, especially with Kevin Owens being 100%, going up against Logan Paul for the U.S. Championship and finally beating Logan Paul and winning that U.S. title. I really think that is the moment that should be, that U.S. Championship win should be given to Kevin Owens, not LA Knight. The third match on the show that I would go for is Jey Uso and Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, Jey Uso is set to face Gunther on Raw next week. Now, the way that I would go about things is I would have Jey actually beat Gunther. Maybe not on Raw. Maybe you can have like a count-out win or something like that, or a DQ, and then that could lead to another match on Raw the week after, where Imperium are barred from ringside, or maybe you could do a lumberjack match. Either way, I think Jey Uso winning the Intercontinental title on Raw, I think is way better than having him win at WrestleMania, because I don't like the idea of dethroning so many champions in one night, or having like big moments, like huge moments all in one night. You know, maybe have like a few big moments and then like one huge moment. Okay. But I think Gunther's title reign deserves better than to be overshadowed by the ending of Roman Reigns, which is, I guess, it's a spoiler for what I'm gonna say later on in this video, and that is Cody beating Roman Reigns, which I don't think is that much of a spoiler. I think it's pretty much written and everybody knows. So yeah, like that's not what I would do with Gunther. I think Gunther losing the championship on Raw, and then continuing the feud up until WrestleMania, where they can have like their blow-off match for the Intercontinental Championship. I think that's the way to go. And plus, I think Jey Uso having that big title, singles win, I think it would cement himself much more as being main event Jey Uso, because honestly, ever since he broke away from the Bloodline, he hasn't really been that much of a main eventer. Sure, he's had like a couple of main events here and there, but it's not really about him. I think it's time to really make it more about him. So Jey versus Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship is what I would have for night one, and I think that they would have a great match if their six-man tag that they just had on Raw was any indication, and I'm pretty sure that they would have good enough chemistry. Gunther always brings out the best in everyone. So the match after that, I don't know what number I'm up to now, but the match after that I would go for is Sami Zayn versus Drew McIntyre in a street fight. And the reason that I would go for this is because it's a simple story. Sami Zayn is down in the dumps right now. He's been losing a lot. And I think it's a great story for both guys, for Drew and Sami Zayn. I wouldn't have Drew in the chamber, because I think it's a great story for both men to really kind of go back to the drawing board and really try to figure out where their future is at, because I think it's well known and well documented that Drew McIntyre's contract is close to being up. I don't know if he's going to re-sign. There is a big probability that he is going to re-sign, but why not play with that? Play with that even more. And even with Sami Zayn's story, I think it works. Both men have a lot to lose. I think it would be very interesting having this street fight where the stipulation being is that the loser would leave WWE. And Sami Zayn is like, I don't even know, like, you would get to a point where Sami Zayn goes, I don't even know if I'm, worthy enough to be in this company anymore. Going back to like 2014 NXT with his feud with Neville, where he's like, hey, look, if I can't do this, if I can't win, then I think I should just hang up my boots. Maybe I don't have what it takes anymore. So you do Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre, and I think that they would have an amazing, amazing match. They do have good chemistry, and I think that they can have an even better, street fight, basically. More so than a street fight, I think, rather than like a street fight, I think what would be even better is an I Quit match. It's a match that we haven't had for a while. And I think Zayn and McIntyre having an I Quit match also works a lot better, for a loser who leaves WWE, So, yeah, Zayn and Drew McIntyre in an I Quit match. And then, you can have Sami Zayn have his big win, and then Drew McIntyre can go away for a little bit until he, thinks about things, whether he wants to re-sign or not, or whether WWE wants to have him or not. And, you go from there. He comes back, and he's an even bigger star because he took some time off. Because that did wonders for him last year when he went away after WrestleMania and then came back like around Money in the Bank. He got a huge pop. So I think having some time off, I think, would work much better for him. Now we get to one of the main events of night one, and that is Io Sky versus Bayley for the WWE Women's Championship. They did a great job with Bayley and Io Sky, and I think the way that I would do things for Elimination Chamber is that I would have Bayley and Dakota Kai go up against, or I guess she'd be called Dakota Sky, right? She would go up against they would go up against the Kabuki Warriors for the tag titles on Elimination Chamber, and that's when I would have Dakota turn on Bayley. She would turn on Bayley because I think Damage Control is great, but at the same time, they do need an interpreter. They do need somebody to cut promos for them. And I think Dakota Kai is that person for that. So in this match, of course, you would have like the interferences from Damage Control. There were talks of bringing up somebody from NXT to have Bayley's back. I think it's either it could be Roxanne Perez. I'm not sure. I think Bayley's been in talks with Roxanne Perez, and I think she's a good, a solid performer. She's really, really, really good in the ring. So I think bringing her up and being partners with Bayley would be great. You could have like all these interferences going on, and then finally, Damage Control looks like that they were going to take out Bayley, and that is when I would have the debut of Julia. Julia comes out, has Bayley's back, and they fight off Damage Control, and then it's down to Bayley and Io, and Bayley finally wins. I would bring back the whole hugger character, bring back the, wacky wailing inflatable tube men, for her entrance, not really as her character, but only for this night. I think it would be a great, callback. It is WrestleMania, so I think it's a great entrance for that, and I think Bayley coming out to that, encompassing all of her characters, everything that she's done throughout her career, the hugger, the Damage Control, the soccer mom, all of that, kicking down a door, and I think it would make for a great entrance. So yeah, Bayley wins, and then she celebrates with the debuting Julia and Roxanne Perez. And then you can continue on the feud, they can have 6-man tags and all of that. And now for the main event of night one, and that is The Rock and Roman Reigns going up against Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. It is a tag match that I think that should happen. It needs to happen. And I love everything that they've been doing, all the character work that they've been doing, all the promos, the segments, everything about it has been fantastic. And I think Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins should go in there and go up against the mega force of The Rock and Roman Reigns. And the team that I would have win is actually The Rock and Roman Reigns. Mainly because of two reasons. Is because, one, I don't want Roman Reigns to lose until, his title loss. So it should mean more, for the next night when he loses to Cody. And second, I would actually have Rollins turn on Rhodes. And the way that I would do it, I would have Rollins actually walk away from Cody. Cody's about to get the hot tag. He's about to tag in Rollins. And Rollins just steps off and walks away. So it does two things. One, it brings back Rollins to being a heel, which I think, he always has done his best work as a heel. And two, is that it reignites Rhodes and Rollins, so that coming out of WrestleMania, Rhodes has a built-in contender in Seth Rollins. So I think them having one more go with this for the championship, and the whole story of Rollins never getting over Rhodes beating him. So you would continue, you would tie up that thread, and you could continue that feud. Maybe they can have that match for SummerSlam, maybe at Money in the Bank, somewhere down the road. I think it would be great, to do Rhodes and Rollins over the WWE Championship. You could have Rollins be drafted to SmackDown, and then they can continue their feud there. Now, night 2. Let's get into night 2. In night 2, I would have the Judgment Day pretty much open the show. They're like, okay, we lost the tag titles, but it doesn't mean that we have lost control. We still control WrestleMania. We are still the hosts of WrestleMania, and blah, blah, blah. And that is when Kurt Angle comes out. Kurt Angle comes out. They have a little bit of a segment where Kurt Angle is like, hey, look, you're in, my home state. We're not that far from Pittsburgh. So, I just gotten word that I am now the new host because you did such a piss poor job in night 1, blah, blah, blah. And then they come down to an agreement where, Dominic, is jaw-jacking to Kurt Angle, and then finally it's like, okay, now Dominic is going to defend the Judgment Day's honor and their position as being the hosts of WrestleMania against Kurt Angle. So it's going to be Kurt Angle versus Dominic in an impromptu match. Kurt Angle takes off his, his tracksuit, and he's ready to go. He's got his gear. That's the old mantra for wrestlers, is that always have your gear. And he's got his gear under there. And Dominic is like, hey, whoa, I got this expensive suit going on that mommy bought me, and I don't think it's right for me to go up again. And then he attacks Kurt Angle. Bell rings, Dominic, beats down Kurt Angle. He's hot dogging to the crowd, and then, he runs into a belly-to-belly. Angle slam, ankle lock, Dominic taps out, Kurt Angle is the new host. Big, simple, 1 minute, little match, something for Dominic to do. Then Dominic gets taken away by security, and, Kurt Angle sings the Na Na Na, song to Dominic as he's being taken away by security. And Kurt Angle's like, all right, let's get this show on the road. You start off the huge pomp and circumstance, and night 2, begins with a bang. Now, the first match on the card that I would do is I would bookend the Cody and Bloodline saga. We start off actually. You know what? No, we're not going to go with that. Actually, we're going to go with Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins coming out. And he is, he's a heel. He's a heel now, and he doesn't, care about the fans and blah blah. And he can even bring back his old theme, just so that he doesn't want the fans to cheer, anymore. He comes out. He's about to defend his World Heavyweight Championship against LA Knight. LA Knight, the winner of the Elimination Chamber, and I'm sure there's going to be a huge support for LA Knight in this match. Come out, LA Knight versus Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship, and at the end, LA Knight wins clean, holds up the championship, and, fireworks, and the fans are going crazy. The match after that I would go with is Andrade versus Santos Escobar. Andrade wants to defend Rey Mysterio's honor. He's like, we have feuded, but I've grown up ever since my leave of absence, and I have, I've gotten a newfound respect for Lucha Libre, and Santos Escobar wants to really put down Lucha Libre, really wants to spit on the legacy of Lucha, and I'm here to defend its honor. So he comes out wearing, his old La Sombra mask, and he's gonna face Santos in a match where Andrade's hair is on the line, but Santos, this is something that I've always wanted to happen, and it's a gimmick match that I've never ever seen, and I think it's very, very interesting. I think it's a great way to really add more heat to the heel. Imagine this: Santos Escobar, him attacking Rey Mysterio on SmackDown. Rey Mysterio shows up on SmackDown, and he gets attacked. Santos starts attacking Dragon Lee, starts attacking, Axiom on NXT, and really putting down Lucha Libre. Really spitting in the face of Lucha. And then Andrade comes out for the save. And then we go into WrestleMania, and it's Andrade's hair. Andrade's like, okay, I'm going to put my luscious locks on the line against you. And if you lose, Santos, then you have to wear a mask. Instead of somebody unmasking for the first time ever, if somebody loses, they have to put on a mask. So Santos is like, okay, they have the match, and Santos knows that he's gonna win. So he's got his Los Lotharios by his side. Andrade has the LWO by his side. Carlito's been taken out, but the rest of the LWO is still there. But Andrade's leading the charge, and we go into this match, and at the end, Santos loses, so he has to go back to being El Fantasma again, and starts wearing a mask, and maybe the stipulation could be he has to wear a mask for a full year, and later on when he turns face, maybe he wants to embrace that, maybe he wants to keep the mask on, or if merchandise sales are going up and everybody's into it, then he can embrace that. If not, then after a year, he can just take it off. Time runs out, and then he just, takes the mask off. Or maybe, he embraces the mask, and then next year, you can do Rey Mysterio versus Santos with the loser unmasking. And this time, Santos doesn't want to lose the mask. So it's something that he has grown accustomed to. It's something that he really connected to, and he doesn't want to lose that. So that is a match that I would have there. The next match that I would have would be the Kabuki Warriors against Alba Fire and Isla Dawn for the tag titles. And it's another thing that I think that WWE needs to focus on. They have been doing that for a bit, and I think that they should do more of, and that is focus on the women's tag team division, because they got a lot of women. They got a lot of women on both shows, on all three shows actually. And I think Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, they deserve that. They have never gotten their rematch for their NXT tag titles. So I think it's time to do Alba Fire and Isla Dawn versus the Kabuki Warriors. And it can go either way. You can have Kabuki Warriors retain and really continue to build onto the division, or you can have Alba Fire and Isla Dawn win, and it continues the downward spiral for Damage Control, and eventually break them up. So either way, I think it works. The way that I would go about it, though, is I would have the Kabuki Warriors win, retain the tag titles, and again, like I said, continue to build on the tag team division. The match after that would be the Final Testament versus the Club, because we haven't had the proper ending to AJ Styles and Karrion Kross, and I think doing this six-man tag, a full-on street fight, a Philly-style street fight between the Final Testament and the Club, I think it would be great. AJ Styles needs to be on this card, so does Karrion Kross, and I think that this would be a barn burner. This would be a fun street fight with a lot of crazy moments and situations. And at the end, I would have a Final Testament win, you know, and continuing like I would like for the idea to, for the club to finally like either break up or, you know, take a back seat a little bit. Maybe have the Good Brothers go to NXT and help out with that brand, while AJ Styles takes some time off. And then maybe he can come back and you could do like some sort of alliance between like the outcast of WWE, the Forgotten Ones. No, not those Forgotten Ones. Jeez, I've forgotten about the Forgotten Ones. But AJ Styles and Drew McIntyre can form an alliance. Those guys that have been, you know, put in the back burner, that hasn't been given like the proper respect or proper positioning, despite them doing so much in carrying those brands. Drew McIntyre in 2020, you know, for Raw. AJ Styles for SmackDown in 2016 and 2017. So I would like to see like that sort of like NWO type of faction with Drew McIntyre and AJ Styles somewhere down the line. Let them take some time off, then come back, and they're just, you know, attacking everybody. Drew and AJ, and maybe like, you know, add in a few guys to the faction. After that, I would do the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. And the reason why I would have it be on this show is because I honestly, like, I don't want it to be on SmackDown or on Raw. I think it would be much better suited for WrestleMania. It is paying respects for Andre, and the person that I would have win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Now imagine this: you got the entire roster, like, of everybody that hasn't been used on stage or in the ring, and right before the bell rings, we hear a storm is coming, and out comes Jade Cargill. Jade Cargill comes out and gets into the ring. She has a great showing in the match, and it goes down to Ivar and Jade Cargill. And at the end, Jade slams Ivar and throws him out. Or, like, you know, does the Cesaro thing from WrestleMania 30 and throws him out. I think it would be an amazing moment. It will be a wonderful way to really bring back the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal to the way that it was, and that it was build new stars. Because at WrestleMania 30, I still remember it, it's one of the best moments in WrestleMania history when Cesaro slammed Big Show and threw him out. I think it was an amazing moment, and I think it's a great callback for that, with Jade Cargill doing that to Ivar. You know, being the one to carry him and, like, throwing him out. It would be an amazing moment. If not Ivar, maybe like Jim Bronson Reed. I think, you know, either way, I think Jade Cargill should be the one to win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. After that, we will go with Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax in a triple threat match. Yes, for the Women's Championship. I was thinking about this. Heading into Elimination Chamber, when it first started, like when the road to Elimination Chamber happened, you know, a couple weeks ago, I was thinking, like, okay, who should Rhea Ripley face? And then when it looked like that it's going to be Nia Jax, I was like, okay, that's an easy win for Rhea Ripley in her hometown. That's great. But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, imagine the heat. Imagine the crazy, crazy heat that Nia Jax would get if she is the one to beat Rhea Ripley. And imagine, like, the magnitude leading up to WrestleMania. What a great story it would be for Nia Jax to win the championship at Elimination Chamber. You go on to WrestleMania, because now Rhea hasn't beaten Nia one-on-one. Becky hasn't beaten Nia one-on-one. Can they beat her together? And if they do, then it doesn't really take anything away from Nia. because it's a triple threat match, but at the same time it's a big win because it's at WrestleMania and it's for the championship. So either way, it's a win-win situation. I think that is the way that they should go. Nia should win the Women's Championship at Elimination Chamber, and then you go on to WrestleMania and you do the triple threat. I think it would be great because a hungry Rhea Ripley is the best Rhea Ripley. Way better than, like, you know, just hanging back and being the champion and like cool mommy. No, have her lose at Elimination Chamber, and then you can have her win the title back at WrestleMania. It makes for an interesting story. And if not Rhea Ripley, it could be Becky Lynch. You can have Becky win the title. And if Nia retains, hey, more heat for her, and then you can go on to the next month with Becky versus Rhea, one-on-one, with the winner facing Nia Jax. Either way, you can have like months worth of storyline with this, rather than just Rhea versus Becky. You know, I think Rhea versus Becky, it's a good like one-off. I don't think it's a great like prolonged storyline. I think you gotta add a few things to the mix to really make it really stretch out, you know, for a few more months. So that is the match that I would go for: Nia versus Rhea versus Becky. And hey, if it was up to me, I would probably put the title back on Rhea, or hey, it could be on Becky. You know, I could go either way. Honestly, I could go either way. Rhea, Becky, Nia. Honestly, it really doesn't matter. But yeah, I would go with Rhea. I would go with Rhea holding the championship at WrestleMania. After that, I would do The Rock versus Cody. Yes, I would do The Rock versus Cody in a match where the winner faces Roman Reigns later in the night for the championship. Because now, Rock has a win over Cody. He pinned Cody the night before. And not just that, but he kind of used his power for Cody to put up his number one contendership. Because, hey, Cody won the Rumble. But now, there's a power struggle, right? So now, Rock being a board member, he's being over Triple H. So he's able to finagle his way into a number one contenders match, you know, with the winner facing Roman Reigns in the main event. And this is where I would have Cody beat Rock. Cody beats Rock in less than 5 minutes. Bell rings, Rock is gonna go for it, he's gonna beat up Cody, and then like first you do the standoff, you do like, you know, the hot dogging and blah blah, but at the end Cody wins. Cody beats Rock just like that. You know, going back to like Survivor Series 2016, I think that was an amazing moment with Brock and Goldberg, where Goldberg beat Brock in like less than 2 minutes. Do the same thing here with Cody and Rock. Nobody would expect it, and I think it's such a great way to like utilize The Rock. Just out of nowhere, Cody just rolls up Rock. 1, 2, 3. Cody wins. He celebrates. After the match, he gets beaten down by the Bloodline. He gets beaten down. Rock destroys Cody with a rock bottom on a steel chair, or maybe like through, or you know, like yeah, on a steel chair, and then they walk away. And as they're walking away, Roman Reigns comes out. You know, they kind of like, you know, they kind of have like a stare down, and Rock is like, you know, I did my job, it's time for you to finish it. And Reigns, you know, kind of nods. And it's going to be Reigns versus Cody for the championship right now. And they're going to go for it. And this is where I would have, you know, like the fans are thinking like, holy shit, is this going to be like the second year in a row where Cody's dreams are dashed? Is this going to be does that mean it's going to be another year of Roman Reigns, you know, being champion? So there's that struggle going on. They have like a crazy ass match and then finally Cody wins. Cody wins, and the way that I would do it is, you know, you would have like the bloodline coming out, and there's that struggle, and they're attacking Cody. You bring out Sami Zayn, you bring out Kevin Owens. They're all trying to, like, you know, fight off, you know, the Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso, and then now it's down to The Rock. The Rock wants to help out Roman, and that is when the glass shatters, and Stone Cold Steve Austin comes out, and he's face to face with The Rock. Then you got Austin and Rock face to face, and, you know, one more time, you know, Rock, you know, is like, hey, well, and then he's about to, like, you know, go for his patented jabs, and Austin, you know, reverses, kicks him in the gut, stunner, Rock flails away, and Cody, you know, then Austin nods at Cody, you know, he's like, yeah, finish the story, finish the story, you son of a bitch. He walks off, and then Cody, you know, he nods back, and then he hits like the crossroads on Reigns a couple of times, goes for the pin, 1, 2, 3, and what a great moment. And at the end, you do the beer bash with Cody and Austin, a sign of the passing of the torch from Austin to Cody. And that is how I would do it. That is how I would do WrestleMania 40. There are a couple of things I would do like later on after that, and after WrestleMania, and one of those things is that I always like the idea of Cody having, like, he would have a sort of an enforcer, you know, somebody by his side, not just a heater, but somebody that he can rub his star power, you know, against. And that person that I would have, you know, by his side also, maybe for that match, you know, maybe that's somebody that you can have by his side later on even, you know, you can build to another match between Rock and Cody, maybe for SummerSlam. And by Rock's side would be, you know, Nia Jax, and by Cody's side would be Jade Cargill. You would integrate that, you know, those two women into the storyline, you know, and I think it would be very, very interesting. And if not Nia Jax, if Nia Jax is, you know, is still busy with like the women's title stuff, you know, you still want to do that, you can bring back Tamina. You can have Tamina by Rock's side. It's somebody that Jade Cargill can be without, you know, really sacrificing anybody big on the roster. I think it would be great. And also, imagine this, like, after WrestleMania, where, you know, you don't have anything for Cody to do, after, like, his reign, his title reign, he loses the title maybe later on, because I wouldn't see him holding the championship for, like, a year or two. He would drop the title. You know, eventually when he turns heel, I think Jade Cargill would still be a great asset for Cody, because I could see them, you know, together kind of being like Triple H and China from 99, from like 98, 99. I think that would be a great, like, team up, Jade Cargill and Cody Rhodes. Because I do see a lot of Triple H and Cody. I do see like that kind of character in him. And later on, once he turns heel, I would love to see him be like a top heel, because I think he can do magnificent work as a heel, after, you know, in a year or so, with Jade Cargill by his side, you know. So those are my thoughts. There's another match that I wanted to add for WrestleMania, but I like thinking about it, honestly, like, I don't think it can even, there's just too much going on for WrestleMania. Not everybody has to be on the card. But another feud that I would like to see, maybe something to be done on SmackDown, would be Jimmy and Naomi being, you know, teaming up against Bianca Belair and Montez Ford. I think it's a great way to break those two off into being single stars, and maybe it's something that they could do like later on. Because I got it written down, but honestly, now that I think about it, I don't think it should be at WrestleMania. It can be something done for SmackDown, and then like later on, you could even do with the amount of couples the WWE has right now, with the amount of team ups and people working together. I think you could do you could bring back the what was it called, the mixed challenge or something like that, the mixed tag challenge, something like that. You could bring that back, because I think you got Zelina Vega, who could team up with Andrade again. You could do BFAB and Lashley, or BFAB and Angelo Dawkins, Bianca Belair and Montez Ford, Ivar and Valhalla, Maxine Dupree and Tozawa, and there's so many that you could do. You could do Charlotte and Andrade. You could do Charlotte and Andrade, Zelina Vega and Carlito, or Zelina Vega and Rey Mysterio. There are so many partners, and Rhea Ripley and Dominic. There are so many team ups that you could do, for a mixed challenge, and you could even do a tournament out of that. A tournament where it's to crown king and queen of the ring, all in one fell swoop, rather than doing just one, a king of the ring and a queen of the ring, separate. You could do them together in a mixed challenge. But that's something I was just thinking about, and honestly, it isn't something that I want to do as a video on its own. That's why I just put it out there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I know I've rambled on for a while, but with that being said, comment, like, and subscribe. Ding that bell icon to be notified on future episodes on the Variety Vendor channel. Share with your friends, share with everybody, and check out my next video. We talk about something else. Take care.